Hi, this is Gavin Edson, and you're listening to my mom, Georgia Ensign, on iCannabisRadio.com.
Now we're on. Hi, welcome. You're listening to iCannabis Radio. I'm Georgia. It is February 4th, 2013, and it is Glass Monday. Monday. I'm here in the studio with my producer, Chris. What's happening, Chris?
What's happening?
And, of course, Sam's here because he likes to hang out with us when he's not producing other people's shows. And, you know, if it's Glass Monday, that means Jonymous is here. What's up, John?
Hi, everybody.
He is currently unpacking some glass, so we're not going to mic him up because otherwise it sounds like crunch, 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 crunch.
I was mic'd.
Crunch, crunch. He was mic'd and he was crunching. Oh,
Yeah.
people, so sorry. So can I just tell you something unrelated to cannabis? Yeah,
Yep.
something unrelated to cannabis. So if you can see in the camera, I have some deep, awful scratches on my hand. Yes, I do.
So
And I have
you
this
made
one.
it.
Don't take this personally. I took our dog, who is perfect.
Oh, so those are not dog scratches.
These are
is
not
what you're
dog
saying.
scratches. No. The dog, who had major surgery and had 30 staples removed today, was an angel. The cat who weighed, oh, by the way, the dog got weighed today. She's 107 pounds.
That's the lightest she's been in a while.
The lightest she's been ever. I think as a puppy she was heavier than that. And the cat we brought in, who weighs 7 pounds,
Yep.
she killed me. Killed the vet. It was I think, is there a thing? Is cat scratch fever a thing?
Yeah.
I'm starting to feel hot.
Well, you can get bacterial infection. If you start getting red vein, like streaks down your veins, then you can have an infection.
Well, I think I'm just going to say that I did because she was mad. She was making that that guttural thing, like in the back of her throat, where I knew that if I got near, So the vet was very nice. I gave him Pets on Broadway in Denver, Colorado, on Broadway, just south of Evans. Great guys. They brought the super duper technician in who works some cat magic.
What?
Yeah, she said some weird things in a language I didn't understand, and the cat just sat there quietly. It was amazing. But yeah, I am hurting for certain. But my dog was fine. For those of you that know the awful, terrible story of this bowel blockage, she's better.
Do not feed your dog tube socks.
No socks for the dog.
They
No
don't
socks
digest them so hot.
She's passed socks before, for those of you who care, which I think there aren't many of you who care. But anyway, so that was my day, and I'm a little obsessed with it because my finger really hurts.
I bet.
And I have a pretty high pain tolerance, and I birthed a baby and all, but I'm complaining about my finger.
Well, I mean, the inside of your finger, once you get to that second layer, it hurts.
Well, the other thing is that, you get scratched from a cat, there's no reward. You birth a baby and you get a baby out of it. This, I get nothing but a scratched finger.
Right. And it's not the first and it's not the last time that's going to happen.
No, absolutely.
You're guaranteed, as long as you own that cat, to have some pain and suffering.
Yeah, and I'm a little bit worried. My husband suggested that the cat sleep downstairs because she already bites me in the middle of the night. But now she has a reason because she went to the vet and got a bunch of shots and was handled by people she didn't want to be handled by. So anyway, I'll let you guys know. If I'm not here next week, it's because of this infection on my finger from these cats. So we got some stuff to talk about before we talk about glass.
Nice.
And then we're going to talk about dabbing on a budget.
Dabbing on a budget. That's today's motto. We got
Not just today. Like that's like a motto, period.
Yeah.
Happens to be a theme of our show, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to talk a little bit about some newsy news. We have understandably focused a lot on Amendment 64 post-election, what's going on in Colorado, what's going on with the task force. So I wanted to do a little bit of a rundown. The task force is controversial for a whole bunch of reasons. makeup of the task force, the purpose of the task force. For those folks that were around during medical marijuana rulemaking, people know that the 25-person panel who was making recommendations to the General Assembly for medical marijuana, lots of the things that they suggested went a whole lot of nowhere. So there's the feeling that that's going to happen again this time. But in addition, the makeup of this committee, this task force, is very different than the medical marijuana one. This is a lot of politicos. This is a lot of people who have a dog in the fight, but who aren't from the industry side. Understandably, like, I get that. This is brand new territory that we're embarking on, and quite frankly, they don't want to screw it up. But at the same time, there's a lot of information that they just don't know and understand.
Yeah, they're uninformed. And
a lot of these subcommittee meetings of the individual of the groups that have taken on specific tasks, a lot of their meeting time has been devoted to educating the committee members on certain things, on what if you're going to regulate something like alcohol, what is the licensing issues around alcohol? What are the rules around alcohol? What are the rules around medical marijuana, and how does that relate?
Well, first argument is, if you can have an entire a truck full of beer, why can't you have a truck full of pot?
Why can't you?
Well, I mean, that's going to be one of the arguments in the near future. It's the whole regulatory tax argument that holds up the entire legalization process. I mean, it's something that grows in your backyard it's hard as hell for them to regulate it without policing it.
Well, I mean, and I think inherent in regulation comes policing, and I think that's what's part of the issue that's happening in medical marijuana is they made regulations that they cannot enforce. And so in medical marijuana, the Department of Revenue is actually taking. They've been all the state divisions have been told by the governor that they need to examine their rules and they need to reduce their rules by a certain percentage of things that are kind of outdated and those kinds of things. Well, in medical, I mean, they full on have admitted, wow, we put up a framework that even prior to laying off a huge percentage of the Department of Revenue's medical marijuana enforcement staff, even before that, they weren't able to enforce. Now, certainly they can't. So all these cameras that we have throughout our building, which is great, and I love it. I mean, it feels very secure. But that at any point in time, the Department of Revenue staff are supposed to be able to just click on a camera and check out what's going on. They admitted they've never done that. They've never even bothered because they just don't have the time and the effort.
The manpower costs too much. Well, it wouldn't if they hadn't taken the budget and spent it elsewhere.
True that. Well, and they also had an expectation that all of these licensing fees were going to come in lickety splits, and that it wasn't going to take forever for the municipalities to get their licensing up to speed. But having said that, the forum for the medical marijuana rule changes has been postponed. It was supposed to be next week. I think it was supposed to be Valentine's Day. What a lovely way to spend Valentine's Day, talking about new medical marijuana rules. But they put out an announcement on the Medical Marijuana Enforcement Division's webpage that said, due to the amount of time that the Amendment 64 task force has required of the MMED, the Medical Marijuana Enforcement Division staff, and a large number of industry stakeholders, we've decided to reschedule our next stakeholder forum to Friday, March 1st. The March 22nd forum will also be rescheduled to a date to be determined later. The Med will continue to provide draft language for review, but will not adhere to the previously published time frame. And they went on to say that we encourage you to watch this website for new draft language. Follow them on Twitter, which I do follow them on Twitter, and they don't tweet. So don't bother to follow them on Twitter.
How do you become a stakeholder in this argument?
Anyone can show up.
But I'm a stakeholder.
You are a stakeholder. But they do, one of the things that I like is they are taking public comment via email, and they really are, and they're paying attention to it. So if you have some suggestions, information, those kinds of things that you would like them to know about the rule changes, you can email them at DOR, that's Department of Revenue, get it, DOR underscore rule comments, plural, at state.co.us. So DOR underscore rule comments at state.co.us. Really important for those of you that are stakeholders to do that. But I brought that up because the Amendment 64 Task Force is taking up a lot of time for a lot of people, not just the Medical Marijuana Enforcement Division staff, but a lot of industry employees, business owners, patients, interested persons have attended these meetings. And the schedule is pretty rigorous, if you ask me. In fact, it's kind of tiresome. There's a lot of meetings, and unfortunately they've been overlapping. I thought I printed out. Here it is. So this is the from the Department of Revenue's webpage. In the middle of the Department of Revenue's homepage, it says Amendment 64, and if you click on it, it'll tell you all this schedule of events. So, my gosh, tomorrow from 1 to 5, there's the whole task force meeting. There was a meeting today from 3 to 5. There is a meeting on, let's see, when the next one, Friday from noon to 4, Thursday from 2 to 5, Wednesday from 11 to 1.
Something tells me that the rules have already been written and they will just be released after all these meetings are over, and people will say, well, we didn't even talk about that in the meetings.
And that's what happened last time.
And that's what happens in every bill passed throughout government in the last 50 years.
Well, and it's there are some good things I think that are happening, or some helpful things that are happening, but who knows? This task force is meant to assist the General Assembly in narrowing the scope of what they have to look at. But my guess is they already, like you said, they already have some ideas in mind about what are things that are no-brainers.
Yeah, they're going to protect all the special interests, regardless if we want them to or not.
Well, and it's interesting that fits right into what I wanted to talk about, which is the makeup of the committee. The special interests on both sides really make up the committee, but I think it's interesting because there have been some people who have been outed as really having conflicting interests to the purpose of the work group, which is to put forth suggestions for regulation to implement 64. It's the horse is out of the barn. This is part of our Constitution now. There is no turning around and saying this isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
So for these folks that are really pretty opposed to it, who sit on the committee, they've got to figure out a way to do what they've been tasked, which is put together some suggestions for regulations to implement it. If you don't like it,
stand aside and let someone else who feels competent in their task take the initiative.
You could certainly stand aside, which is what people have suggested. Yeah. You could also, you could suggest some really intense regulation.
I don't understand why they're just not open arms. We're going to have the greatest tourism industry on the planet.
People are really struggling with that. There are people who really think that
rich Europeans are going to come over here and wreak havoc.
Right.
It's not going to be broke people. It's only going to be vacationers. And you don't act the fool when you're smoking pot.
What about the University of Nebraska college kids coming here for spring break buying weed?
They're going to be really chill and mellow. They're going to go see some shows, and Cervantes is going to do really good that week.
Right.
So
I don't disagree with that at all. I think that it's interesting. There's a couple of folks who are on the committee. Tamara Ward,
lying?
Right?
That's an accurate description of what will happen.
Right.
Yeah, the Ogden, every theater in town will have packed shows, and you'll have every ski hill in the entire state will have every fraternity will be up there, and none of them will be getting in fights because they will be too high to drink too much.
Well, and there are people, you know how once or twice a year someone disappears out of a bar because they get too drunk and they wander off and they freeze to death.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen.
Not nearly as. Yeah, you go find a nice warm place when you're stoned.
Right.
I'm leaving at 9 o'clock to go find my bed. You know, I'm not leaving at 2 a.m. Piss drunk. I can't find my car. Well, you shouldn't have been looking for your car in the first place.
Exactly. We're going to take a really quick break, and then we're going to come back and talk a little bit more about the makeup of this committee, some other news items, and glass on a budget, right?
Glass on a budget? Well, dabbing on a budget.
Dabbing on a budget.
We got wonder worms in different varieties, and they adapt well to everything.
That sounds awesome. One of our sponsors tonight is, as you guys know, my dad. Kuffel Collimore and Company is able to provide commercial general liability and property insurance to dispensaries and growers. Commercial general liability insurance provides up to $1 million of protection if you're sued because someone claims to have been injured on your premises from a slip and fall, or because they claim that the product they purchased from you can cause them harm. Property insurance covers direct physical loss to the business personal property unless the loss is limited or excluded. Loss of business income can be included under the property insurance. This covers loss of net profits and continuing expenses if the dispensary cannot open due to insured loss. Call Kuffel Collimore and Company for more information or to obtain a quote. Call toll free at 877-335-1234 and ask for Bob, or email him at rtc@iwic.net. That's Kuffel Collimore and Company. You're listening to iCannabis Radio, and we'll be right back.
Are you a medical marijuana patient or interested in finding out how to become one? Contact Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern. Conveniently located on Hamden and Tamarack in the Whole Foods parking lot behind Proof of the Pudding, Mile High Wellness offers a wide variety of edibles, hashes, and some of Colorado's top strains. Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern. 3525 South Tamarack, Suite 110, on the corner of Hamden and Tamarack. 720-382-8516. Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern.
I'm Gary Johnson, and you're listening to iCannabis Radio, and I want to say, talk it up, Colorado.
Hi, welcome back. I'm Georgia. You're listening to iCannabis Radio, and looks like we have some in trouble puppies in the studio tonight. Dachshunds are badass dogs, right? You guys get that. Well, these two, they're the cutest ever. Their daddy's mad at them. So we were just talking a little bit about the Amendment 64 implementation task force. That is the task force that the governor has put together in Colorado to make some recommendations to the General Assembly for regulations around the implementation of what was Amendment 64, which is now Article 18, subsection something something of the Colorado Constitution. So of course there have been complaints about the makeup of the task force. One of the main complaints was about a woman by the name of Tamara Ward. She's from Colorado Concern. Colorado Concern is a group of businesses, and she is the director of Colorado Concern, and she is trying to make Colorado a pro-business state and those kinds of things. And she was the first signature on a letter to the U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder, and the letter was asking for their intervention on Amendment 64. There is a belief, there is a concern that the implementation of 64 is going to be difficult on businesses. That they're going to, for those businesses who have had a zero tolerance drug policy, that they're going to have to do something different there.
People on meth or cocaine, then still fire them.
Well, I mean, and I agree with that. And actually, I mean, truth be told, you can have a no tolerance policy, and if someone gets hurt on the job and you drug test them and they test positive, and there's belief that they were impaired on the job, you still have an ability to either not pay workman's comp or those kinds of things. I mean, But the thing with weed is that if you can't, it's an impairment thing, just like the DUI bill. So
at what point am I too impaired to operate something? If I take cold medicine, there's a good chance I'm more impaired than if I smoke a little bit of pot.
Well, and it kind of depends on who you are too.
Yeah.
For sure. And that's where, the ability to prove impairment makes a difference. But her concern is that this isn't going to be good for businesses. And the concern about her being on the task force is that she already comes with
a negative attitude.
Now, I will say, I've heard her make some comments at the task force and at the subcommittee that she sits on, which right now I can't remember which one it is. I feel like I've been to so many. I'm kind of taking this week off. But she hasn't said anything while I've been there that has been really anti. In fact, she's done a good job of being really responsive to questions that are being asked and those kinds of things. There are people who sit there with their arms crossed and their heads down, and every time you say something, they kind of roll their eyes or what have you, and it's pretty clear that they think this whole thing is pretty ridiculous. And one of those people, I have to say, is the second person that there have been some pretty clear concerns about. Dr. Christian Thurstone is a psychiatrist, and he's also an addiction specialist, and he's really concerned about Colorado's youth. He's also
really concerned about his revenue going into the tank when he can't sit there and counsel kids about pot anymore. Ta-da! And when they turn 21, alcohol counseling, if they had a problem all through their youth, that's a parental thing. But the pot, he's going to be out a lot of money with this, and that's where he's really concerned.
Well, it's been interesting because they want to look at youth marijuana arrests in the same way that they do minor in possession of alcohol and tobacco, which means that these kids don't get a criminal charge until they've been ticketed for the third time. So you get a 3 strikes, you're out policy. So the first 2 times you kind of do diversion-y, educational kinds of things, but you don't get a criminal record. And then if you're arrested the 3rd time, then you're kind of a dumbass and they'll go ahead and stick it to you.
This is arresting for an underage charge?
This is arresting for an underage charge.
Yeah, but it's the same implementation as an MIP of alcohol.
Right, exactly.
That's probably a good policy.
I agree with that. My guess is that Dr. Thurstone is concerned about that. But
he's also concerned about his bottom line. I'm sure
Precisely.
He makes, in the 6 figures, and he doesn't want to see a change in that.
Well, he's also been a principal in Project SAM. Are you guys familiar? We've talked about that before.
Surface Terra Missile? What?
Project SAM is Safer Alternatives to Marijuana or something.
Oh,
Project SAM's connection represents a clear conflict of interest and willful disregard for the principle he's agreed to in sitting on the task force, Mark Slaw wrote. He's very concerned. We talked a little bit about Project SAM. It's Congressman Patrick Kennedy's organization.
Yeah.
And it's just it pretends to be an organization that wants to find better ways to find a middle ground rather than legalizing
it's
or full.
It's just a clever way of them trying to subvert something positive. It's like It's like the Tea Party went from being something Ron Paul started to being something that you got Bill O'Reilly in.
Right, exactly. So I think that it was difficult to find community members who had the time, ability, and desire to sit on this task force, for sure. But when confronted with, wow, these people have really big conflicts, it was seen as diversity as opposed to really being conflicting with the purpose. You know what? I'm fine with people who aren't super on board. We are insulated in a very strong pro-cannabis community, and so it's hard for us to understand these uneducated people who aren't. But there's lots and lots of people who aren't involved in this environment in the way that we are. But But again, you're tasked with implementing the new constitutional amendment. That's what your task is, not with trying to subvert it. So get on it, people. Get on it. You want to know what else is happening?
Yep.
So, I think that what's the phrase? Necessity is the mother of invention. And
Hence the Wonder Worm.
Hence the Wonder Worm, right? But so is opportunity.
Yep.
And Amendment 64 has provided some interesting opportunities for people. We've talked a little bit about the private clubs that have started to pop up, whether, some of them have been marginally popular, some of them have not been successful and haven't gone anywhere.
You have to have a medium of cost to benefit, If you don't reach some kind of middle ground, then people won't show up.
Absolutely. I mean, and right now, that hasn't quite been reached yet. But there's some interesting things coming down the pike. I mean, we know that there's a gentleman who's going to set up a 420 friendly arcade, and I mean, there's some of these cool things, some of these very clever ideas, because people start thinking really creatively when these new opportunities arise. People also start doing things that are crossing some lines, for sure. For quite a while, if you go on Craigslist, you will see people selling
wholesale MMJ ads.
Yeah. Well, you'll see MJ ads for people who have nothing to do, absolutely illegal sales of MJ.
Yeah.
Well, now people are trying to figure out a way to kind of get around that. And Michael Roberts of the Westward wrote an article entitled "Marijuana for Free on Craigslist, maybe with a donation or as a bonus for another purchase." So
there's some place on Craigslist with spend $30 at the head shop and get 2 grams of really inadequate marijuana for free.
It's free. It's free.
Yeah. But you have to spend $30 on a Chinese pipe.
Right.
Which cost them $4.
I was going to say, yep. So apparently there are people, one of the main, this weekend CBS 4 reported, this is Local 4, about marijuana being advertised for free on Craigslist in exchange for donations or other offers, and questioned whether the practice was legal under Amendment 64. The folks behind Four Strains Pipe and Tobacco are confident that they're doing nothing wrong in offering a small amount of cannabis as a bonus to folks purchasing other merchandise. So
how are they legally growing all this weed, or how are they procuring all this?
Well, the only way that they could do it legally is if either someone gave it to them, because they could.
Who could legally give them enough that they could supply? They sell 30 pipes in a day.
I know. Well, that's a lot.
That's over 2 ounces.
They probably have a lot of employees, would be my guess.
I just can't. I mean, that's all that is illegal embezzlement.
So listen to this. One of the main Craigslist posts featured on CBS 4 report spotlighted Bud's Worm Farm, which provided an eighth of marijuana in exchange for paid sponsorship of 100 red wiggler worms. I don't even know what that means.
They're fishing worms. They're the one, like panfish worms. You have night crawlers and then you have red wigglers.
It's February. Do you know that?
Well, people still ice fish, so you have to
with worms.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, it's rare. I mean, they're probably getting their worm crop in order for the spring rush.
It's just interesting. So that apparently got pulled off of Craigslist. There was another ad titled "Fresh and Cured Hash." Includes numerous photos, including this one right here.
Hey, some bubble.
That's a photo.
It's the cheesequake, yo.
Look at that. So it says the test $60 a gram for BHO and $40 a gram. 60
a gram for BHO, and how much for the
40 grams for full melt. However, the items are not for sale. I ask donations for my time, energy, the ability to grow the plants, then make oils, the cost of butane and ice. Another section announces that the deal is Amendment 64 and 20 compliant. So,
Awesome, I guess.
the other is donate today and receive free MJ with free delivery. So people are definitely being, what's the word? Fascinating with their creativity and their ideas. Mason Tvert, one of the chairs of
64.
the Amendment 64 campaign, Regulate Marijuana Like Alcohol, said there's no doubt that if people choose to use marijuana instead of alcohol, we'd not have the same number of problems. Absolutely. But now we've got donate $30 and receive a free eighth, donate $60 and receive a quarter. It's
At least it's not like California where they're still paying $130 a quarter for OGs,
right.
A good OG's $130. Whoa.
Well, I just, I'm fine with ingenuity and people trying to think outside the box, absolutely. And I want this to be a different world. I really, really do. I think that the more that we do, while the General Assembly is still trying to figure this out, while municipalities are still trying to figure it out, the more people jump into these gray areas, the more likely they are to be named as things that can't be done. And so I would just caution people that, we are so close to freedom. Don't wreck it by scaring people and freaking out our legislators and freaking out the municipalities. Because when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about Greenwood Village.
I have no idea what that is.
Oh, my gosh. We have to take a commercial break first. But yeah, we're going to talk about Greenwood Village and what they intend to do with their implementation of 64. But first, we want to say hello, Medical Marijuana of the Rockies in Frisco, Colorado. Hello to Jerry. Jerry, one of our favorite sponsors. If you're in Frisco, Colorado, why the heck wouldn't you be in Frisco, Colorado?
Because you could be in Breckenridge 9 miles down the street, but you're still going to go to Frisco because you're going to get tired of Breckenridge after 2 days.
See? And you're definitely going to see Medical Marijuana of the Rockies located off of exit 203, off of I-70 in Frisco, Colorado. Your best mountain source for meds. Check out their website, mmrockies.com. They have an ever-changing strain selection as well as some of the best immature plants, clones, in the state. They are amazing. Make sure you tell Jerry that you heard about Medical Marijuana of the Rockies on iCannabis Radio. He's a fantastic sponsor, a wonderful store, and some of the best meds you can get in the mountains. Medical Marijuana of the Rockies, mmrockies.com. Also, talking about Amendment 64, you thinking about growing your own? You know where you should go? Noto Urban Garden Supply, located at 1330 27th Street in Denver, Colorado. They are a fantastic garden supply hydro store with really knowledgeable staff. They can definitely tell you how to get started, or if you've already gotten started, what are some things that you need that are going to increase your ability to grow some of the best marijuana around. Go to Noto Urban Garden Supply. They're open Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Noto Urban Garden Supply, located in downtown Denver, just north of Coors Field by Mad Hatter Smoke Shop and MMD of Colorado.
Fresh brewed compost tea.
Yeah, not anymore.
Oh, no?
No.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well.
Old brewed compost tea. Noto Urban Garden Supply. You're listening to iCannabis Radio, and we'll be right back.
The law offices of Edson, Maton, and Matz provide criminal defense, medical marijuana defense, and advice about setting up and running medical marijuana centers, optional premises cultivation operations, and infused product manufacturing businesses throughout Colorado. With offices in Denver and Aspen, we can offer assistance throughout the entire state of Colorado. Give us a call at 303-831-8188. That's 303-831-8188. Or visit us online at warrenedson.com.
Hi, this is Gavin Edson, and you're listening to my mom, Georgia Edson, on iCannabisradio.com.
How freaking cute is that? He had a little cold that day, and so he kind of couldn't pronounce Edson very well. His nose is kind of stuffed up. Before we start talking about some glass, I want to tell you about Greenwood Village. Greenwood Village is a little town or village. Get it? Greenwood Village, little town or village.
Green. Mm-hmm. Whoa.
Oh, yeah. It is not going to be very green.
It's not.
They are just south of Denver in Arapahoe County, and they have decided that they are not going to allow any marijuana on public property in Greenwood Village. And they consider public property
Roadways.
everything. Yes. So ask, how can you as adults 21 and older get your marijuana to your house?
You have to drive around their city limits.
You can't. Well, what if you live in the city limits?
Then it's going to be a conflicting state versus.
You can't
The thing is you're going to get a good lawyer. The first part, I'm sure some lawyers chomping at the bit to set the precedent on that. So
There probably is, but there is no. This is not a state versus municipality thing, because the amendment clearly states that municipalities can set up their own rules.
Yeah.
And they have decided that they are going to set up a rule
Well,
that says essentially there will be no marijuana.
the first time
in
the
Greenwood
richest
Village.
guy in town's kid goes to jail, that whole rule goes out the door.
Well, and really,
Like,
they're
this
not-
is stupid. I don't need my kid having a record,
and they're not going to do anything. I mean, it's sort of like seatbelt check. They're not going to do random stops to see, and they're not going to knock on your door and say, "Do you have any marijuana in your house?"
But if you're driving your car and they smell pot in it, then that gives them the right to search. And then they search, and you end up with a misdemeanor charge.
Yep. So we've criminalized adult users.
Yep, 21 and over.
So Greenwood Village, I want to know what the businesses are. We'll figure out what the businesses are in Greenwood Village that we won't be going to. I think CB and Potts is in Greenwood Village. I think there's a handful of those kinds of chains that are there. But we'll let you know because it's not going to be safe for you or smart for you to give money to the city of Greenwood Village, because they certainly don't support your constitutional right to have marijuana as an adult age 21 or over. So next week, remind me, and I will tell you all the businesses that are located in that small little town.
Yep, vote with your wallet, people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Anywho, speaking of wallets, we are dabbing on a budget.
Yeah, we are.
And you've got some really cool, crazy new product that's only available.
Well, it hasn't been available yet. All the ones that have been used by the public have been handed out at parties, and
Chris is laughing.
it's an underground thing. But
I'm never in on the underground.
as of tomorrow, we're going to be mass producing the Wonder Worm for public consumption.
All right, what's the Wonder
So,
Worm?
The Wonder Worm, it's an all quartz gadget that you see here.
Whoa.
So this one in particular one is grommeted. So the cool thing about that is it'll fit in dang near anything. So all you have to do to use this would be to torch anywhere along this bottom bell here, and then just apply your concentrate straight
So that's
into
not
the
even.
hole.
Is that in just a regular bowl?
This is in a regular downstem. It fits in a regular downstem. The 9.5 versions fit in your old school slider tubes.
No way.
Yep, it's domeless, so you don't have to even pull a bowl. You don't have to do anything. You just fire it up and just dab straight into it.
No.
Yep.
No.
That is revolutionary, because it's something that you can turn your old school graphics water pipe into a rig for. I think we're going to price those at $34.99.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean
How do you clean it?
How do you clean it?
Yeah.
That's the thing, is it's quartz, so you don't really ever clean it. Occasionally you can soak it in alcohol, but once it glazes on the inside, it's going to have they call it being seasoned, kind of.
Mm-hmm. Like a pot.
Yep, exactly. So you're never going to get it back to where it's completely clear after you've used it. It'll always have a haze in it. But you can drop it in isopropyl alcohol and it'll get, reasonably clean. But the thing is that they're not going to be clear. They're going to be sandblasted. This one's stickered up to be sandblasted tomorrow. And we should have those on the shelf by noon to 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. So everybody needs one.
Our pretty angel is in the chat room, and she says she loves hers.
Nice. She got hooked up at one of the parties, I imagine.
She always gets the good stuff for
That's
sure.
good.
That is
Yep.
just so cool.
And the new ones, you can see it's got the rolled lip at the front on the new ones, and they'll have the custom logo with the. Chris actually drew the little worm face for us with the little sleepy eyes.
Very cool. I love the eyes. Hang on, slow it down so we can see. Don't move it so we can see the eyes. Actually, can you put your hand behind it? Yeah. Because you have to see the googly eyes. Leave it there for a few. There it is. So cute.
So when it does darken out, you'll be able to see the relief of the little worm guy in the dark. Yep. So
does it come in different sizes?
we are eventually going to have different sizes. Right now, we've got the 9.5 mil size, which fits in any old school tube. It'll also fit in a 14 mil down stem. I can just replace that here. This guy can go into this side. They've got several different curves, so if you've got a tube with a more aggressive angle on it, you can find one that lines up better with your piece.
So why that shape? What is the benefit of that shape?
That shape, the kinks and the quartz, quartz does not bend in a traditional radial. You know, it will not make a radial bend. So whenever you get it hot, it kinks. The cool thing about it kinking is it actually makes a restriction and it so that the oil can't flip up into it as easily. I mean, even every nail you ever hit, you're going to have oil that vaporizes off the side or just gets past where it vaporizes and ends up on the side of your bowl or wherever. These stay pretty contained.
So
cool. Nothing's perfect, but these work really well for the, at the price point, 30, we're going to be trying to get the price point between $30 and $35 wholesale, and it works in any piece. That's our ultimate goal. But we also have a new jointed one, which is this guy right here, which works as well as, if not even better than the Wonder Worm. So this guy's all quartz, including the joint. And we're actually going to trim the joint up on a lapidary wheel, so we'll take some of this extra joint off. It's just the way they come from the factory. This one's actually a prototype. This is going to be called the high heel.
It does look like a high heel. I'd wear that.
It's the high, and it heels you, so it's the high heel.
Oh,
so
I get what you did there.
There you go. So we're going to drop this guy in here. Same type of deal. You just heat the base of this until it's red hot. Dab directly into the top bowl here. That's machine cut and then polish. So
that is
real
so
nice
cool.
opening. We've got these coming too without the joint, and they'll fit in direct injects because they'll have a Maria instead of a joint, and they'll fit in your direct inject rig in 14 or 18 mil sizes. The really cool thing about those too is that, like I brought a piece here. A lot of people have a vertical joint. You can do several adapters and make that work with that.
Look at that.
I've actually got a glass 14 to 19 also. So you can do anything as cheap as a 99-cent gasket, or you can do the $15 glass on glass, which when it's cut, it'll actually seat just slightly better. Yeah. It'll go down at about another 1/8 inch. But that's a really classy setup.
That is so great. I love the idea that classy Colorado.
Keep it classy, Yep, keep it classy, Denver.
We well, I mean, our whole theme kind of has been innovation, and this is a fantastic innovation. I mean, the idea that people who haven't wanted to invest in a full rig,
right? You can take your 10-year-old graphics bung that you've had sitting in your closet, and you can grab one of these and slide it in there, and all of a sudden you have an oil rig. Go out to your shed and get your blue old school plumber's torch, and all of a sudden you're dabbing.
Just all of a sudden.
Yep.
Oh,
but this is
so
really
clever.
cool too, because the 14s, if you have a vertical 14 rig, they'll sit beautifully.
Oh, that's so neat. So how do people get them? I know that Angel got hers at the meet and greet.
Yeah, you're gonna find them at the Mad Hatter. We've got the first batch. I've got all of them stickered, so I've got about 30. Yeah, they don't have to pull a dome or anything like
yeah,
that.
I mean, what Chris just said. Are you mic'd? What Chris just said is really important. I mean, for patients who
Like
have
cerebral palsy and MS, stuff like that, that have limited dexterity in
Yep.
their fingers, this eliminates you don't have to pull anything. I mean, as long as you can aim your dabber into that hole and pull your rip, you don't have to deal with any pulling of domes or.
That's so smart.
I mean, the cool thing is I can get the end of this hot, red hot, and I can still grab it right here and pull it out. With
Yeah.
it, quartz doesn't transfer heat. So like titanium, you would have all this heat that's
Yeah.
just resonating off the piece.
That stays hot for a
This
while.
one, the heat stays very centralized in the quartz. So if you just heat it here, over here, it's not hot. It's insane. Like doing it in front of people, they just look at you like that's crazy.
It's such a good idea.
Or if I was to take this and get it red hot and take a glass of water and dump it right in there and pull it out and it not be broken. It's just like
That's quartz, huh?
quartz.
Yep.
It's the only silica, or I guess it's quartz based. It's not silica at all. It's numbers. What's that? Number 6 or 7 on the on the periodic chart.
I don't know. I don't have the
Silica's
periodic
5.
chart memorized.
6.
Should I?
Let's see. Or 5's carbon
Maybe.
or 6. I don't know.
I don't know. We'll figure it out after the break, right?
Yeah.
You're listening to iCannabis Radio. It's Monday night. I'm Georgia here with Jonymous, and we'll be right back.
Let's face it, rules and regulations are complicated, especially in the field of medical marijuana. Let Medical Marijuana 101 help you get through the compliance process. We can also explain to you your employment requirements, your employees, and your business. But our work doesn't stop there. Our experience in cultivation ranges from the design of grow rooms to the diagnosis and resolution of grow problems. Visit us at www.medicalmarijuana101.com or call 303-388-7706. That's 303-388-7706. Are you a runner? Are you a runner who supports marijuana legalization? Run on Grass is a group of athletes actively seeking to change our marijuana laws. We speak the truth about cannabis, bringing the message through our feet to new ears. Check out runongrass.com to find out more about us, our events, and how to join up or how to sponsor a runner. If you're in the Denver area, please join us for runs or start a group in your area. Running not your thing? Any sport can do it. On Grass. runongrass.com. You're listening to iCannabisRadio.com.
Welcome back. Welcome back. I am so impressed with these things. There's so many cool products coming out, so many amazing products. It's so cool. It's so cool. So tell us again, they're going to be at Mad Hatter's.
Yep. And these, the standard ones are going to be, I think they're going to be $34.99. I think is what we're going to throw on them at first. And the jointed ones are going to be about $100. And if you've gone and seen any other jointed quartz pieces, they are way more than that. Yeah, if you come in and talk to me, I might even give you a better deal than that. Whoa.
Whoa.
But-
What if they say iCannabis Radio?
Well, then we'll definitely give them a hookup.
Get the hookup. I just think that's fantastic. That's
yeah,
wonderful.
you're definitely walking out the door for less than $100 for one of these, and that is unreal because the simplicity of it. There's no chance to lose anything. It's just so straightforward, yet it's just smart.
Well, Chris was just saying at the break that, oftentimes people get intimidated by all that is a rig. And for people that are really used to it, no big deal. And it's fun to get these beautiful, amazing glass pieces. But if you don't want to invest in a rig or you're not really accustomed to it,
That's what you do. You take your $30 water pipe and you get you a $30 attachment, and all of a sudden you're in business.
that's a really cute pipe, by the way.
Yeah, it's the simplicity is where it's at.
That's really cool.
So yeah, so for $70, retail, you got yourself a flower bowl, and you can just swap out in a heartbeat, and now you're dabbing
Wow.
that fast.
Really cool. Boom, boom. Really, really cool. So
It's next level technology.
where are we going to, in the past couple of years, there's been so many things. What's going to happen a year from now? I can't even imagine.
every kid in Kansas is going to be on probation for coming here and going home.
I hope not.
No, that's what's going to happen. And then every parent in Kansas is going to be outraged that every one of their kids who is destined to become a senator or something is now on probation, and then the war will cease to be.
Yeah, I mean, maybe
it's just going to keep traversing, and people will see the stupidity of it and how it's the only thing that makes pot bad is the fact that it's illegal.
Right.
Well,
I've said this that one of the things that's so hard about the state of Colorado and the state of Washington is people shifting gears, law enforcement shifting gears. Because one day it was illegal, today it's legal. How do you undo years of mind thoughts?
Yeah, what do the policemen think now that they're driving by the skate park and instead of getting flipped off, kids are waving at them because they can't get screwed with them for smoking weed?
Right.
And they're smoking good weed, which means that they're not now trying all these other drugs. I mean, they might try them, but they're not getting on them like they do in other places. And, soft drugs eliminate hard drugs. Portugal / Amsterdam as references.
Well, and I like to have an approach where we're looking at treatment for people who really do have addiction problems, who are suffering from negative consequences for using substances, any substance. The treatment approach it makes far more sense, is far healthier, both personally and societally, and certainly. As we're looking at folks, making criminals out of anybody for
any prison
victimless crime.
Yeah, prisons only breed criminality. So you take someone who is part of a victimless crime, you incarcerate them, and then they become no better off than when they started.
Yeah, if not worse.
They're going to end up worse.
Yeah.
I mean, the things that you witness while incarcerated are enough to make you a different person.
Yeah. The other thing that I want to point out. So you guys know that I hate the whole stoner. I hate stoner jokes. I hate that
the cliche that stoners are all knuckleheads.
The stereotype that stoners are knuckleheads.
I mean, I've been in many rooms with doctors, lawyers, and everybody else, and they all participate, and they're all well respected outside of the fact that underground they smoke a little bit of ganja.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that proves that that's a poor stereotype. I mean, look at what you have sitting in front of you. I mean, this is ingenuity. This took a thoughtful mind. This took a science mind to make some of these just amazing inventions.
Well, thank you.
Yes, yes. This is not.
And these are culminations of ideas, but yeah, that several of us got together and said, all right, we better come up with something that's affordable finally. Because it's restrictive to get in the dab game. I mean, the cheapest bubbler we've ever had in the shops was $60, and that's a little tiny straw, tiny little bubbler.
Cute,
yeah, but at the same time, nothing that at that price point. It was perfect for that price point. But when you start talking about pieces that are upwards of $1,000, especially people like that shop at the more budget-minded dispensaries, a lot of them are on fixed incomes.
Sure.
And they are not about to spend $300 or $400 or $500 on anything that's not food and rent, because that's when you're on fixed income, that's what you have money for. So they appreciate things that are cheaper that a lot of us take for granted.
That's right.
So this is giving them something that they can involve themselves, because they still want to partake in good medicine. And
absolutely.
That's very important to them.
And absolutely. Okay, tell us where you're located, hours, that kind of thing.
Cool. We've got 2 locations at the Mad Hatter. One of those is at 6091 West Colfax in the beautiful city of Lakewood. And the second is at 2615 Walnut Street in the beautiful Rhino District of North Denver. which is located next to MMD and across from Castman's.
Perfect locations.
Yep.
Thank you so much. We're excited for next month because I think something's going to be invented over the next month.
Well, like I said, I'm going to go start some inventions.
Yay.
As soon as taking a month off to go invent.
Yeah, that sounds perfect.
So be on the lookout.
Be on the lookout. Just want to, as we wrap up tonight, want to remind you guys to please, if you are in the Colorado area and can attend some of the Amendment 64 implementation task force and subcommittee meetings, please do so. They're all open to the public. They all take public comments. There have been some things said at some of these meetings that will blow your mind. Insulting things to cannabis users, ridiculous, outrageous kinds of ideas about what's going to happen to Colorado as 64 moves forward. Without your voice there, then there's no dissenting opinion, and we've got to present a balanced viewpoint of how Amendment 64 can indeed make Colorado a safer, better place to live, that our children are not going to end up addicted to methamphetamines somehow. And so please go. As I said, it's on the Department of Revenue's webpage. There's a link at the bottom. It says Amendment 64. Just click on it, and it will give you this meeting agenda. The next meeting of the major task force is tomorrow, Tuesday, February 5th from 1 to 5 p.m. It's located in the Ralph L. Carr Colorado Judicial Center, which is at 1300 Broadway. Big, beautiful downtown building, brand spanking new, absolutely stunning. Go there, check it out. Don't hesitate to sign up for public comments. It's not scary. It's actually good stuff. Want to thank our sponsors tonight. But before I do that, let me tell you a little bit about what's going on over the next week in iCannabis Radio land. Tomorrow, Sex Pot Radio from 6 to 8. Please remember they have changed their times. They're a little bit earlier. Jenny Cush, 6 to 8 on Sex Pot Radio. They're going to have Jay Ack on from 6 to 8. And then Thursday, Hemp Connoisseur Magazine from 4 to 5 p.m. And, of course, Thursday night with Stickman Overgrow the Radio from 7 to 9. And have you guys been listening to what?
In the lab with Jennifer.
Yeah.
It's going to be on Friday at 9:30.
Friday at 9:30 in the morning?
Yeah.
Friday at 9:30 in the morning instead of on Monday. Thank you so much. I just got a stare down, and I was like, what? So I can stare down.
Which Jennifer?
In the lab with Jennifer Murray from Can Labs. Wow. Friday is going to be on at 9:30 in the morning. Check her out. And then guess what? Next Monday, my show, 7 to 8 p.m. It's the return of American Weed. Have you been missing American Weed Realm Radio? They are going to be on Monday night with me once a month. And the first show will be next week. So don't miss it. Our sponsors, thank you so much. Mile High Wellness, Noto Urban Garden Supply, Edson, Mayton, and Matts. Medical Marijuana of the Rockies, Cuffle, Collimore and Company, Medical Marijuana 101, Run on Grass. And you guys, thank you so much for listening. We'll see you again next week. John, it was a pleasure.
It sure was. Thanks, G.
Go see them at Mad Hatter Smoke Shop. Check them out. Nighty night.
Bye.